Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, the senior elected official of your party right now, says that Donald Trump made a comment that is the textbook definition of a racist comment. Do you agree?
Well, the way I subjectively define racism, I agree as well. I think that Mr. Trump made a regrettable mistake with his statement. I believe that it's a regrettable legal strategy. He's trying to win a case.
If Donald Trump, in this comment, is engaging in racism, are you still comfortable supporting him?
Quite frankly, the policies that I have seen from the Democratic Party when you're micro-targeting a community and you are putting there are blacks together and Hispanics together and certain economic messages and positions on issues, quite frankly, with the way I define racism, I see it a lot in policies and statements that has taken place. I've been in Congress for 18 months. I was in the New York State Senate for 4, and I think
I'm not saying are you now voting for Hillary Clinton, but are you still endorsing Donald Trump if you think he's engaging in racism?
Well, yes, it's Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, and it's a no-brainer between the two of them.
Are you essentially saying that, yes, he's a racist, but he's our racist?
No, I think that Donald Trump, as far as his character goes, he isn't making that statement because he feels like he is superior because, he is white and the judge is Mexican. I don't believe he's making that statement because internally, he feels like he is of a superior race. I mean, there is...
Right, but is a little bit racist okay?
Well, being racist at no one with any policy, with any statement, I quite frankly think that whether it is people who are running for president of the United States, people who have been in that position, people who are in Congress and state legislators, people running for office, the American public, that we all can do a lot better in the way we handle these issues.
What would you call someone who makes racist statements? What would a person who makes racist statements be? How would you characterize
Everyone calls them a racist.
So if Donald Trump is making racist statements, you're saying he's a racist?
So again, if he internally felt superior because he is white and he's not Hispanic, if he felt superior because he was white and he wasn't black, or he was Christian and not Jewish, I mean, you could start getting into the weeds, internally as far as a person's character goes. But quite frankly, what I have seen through the years is an offensive micro-targeting on policy and rhetoric of campaigns that people want votes. By the way, I don't think that Donald Trump's statement was a statement made intentionally because he wants to win the president of the United States. I think it's primarily focused because he wants to win this case.
Right, but he brought it into a campaign speech.
He
spent minutes talking about it. He was the first person who brought up the judge's heritage. I mean, when it comes down to it, you are comfortable saying that Donald Trump, your nominee, is racist?
Again, I can argue
right, but
that,
here's the thing.
The president of the United States
don't you judge character on people's words? Isn't that the only thing isn't that one of the only things you have to judge a presidential candidate on
I believe
what
that
they believe inside?
There's more than just words to define a person. And by the way, aside from words, there's a whole lot more to define everyone.